been happy with the Troll for a while.
Troll's a good RDA. I call them beater RDAs because they're so cheap and you can pretty much tear them up.
I've had this one for like a good 6-7 months now. And she's still decent condition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to replace the O-ring soon.
Yeah.
They don't really have it grip anymore. Even after.
I didn't think they even had grip to them to begin with.
When I first bought it, it did.
Okay.
Yeah. But this one's got nickel, titanium, and stainless steel for like the most temp control. But yeah. What?
Seeing where my good juice is.
But it's basically that build that's up there right now when it was first installed. But those are spaced out. That's before crimping. Yeah. That's blurry as shit because I don't have glasses.
I was gonna say, to me it's not blurry.
Huh?
To me it's not blurry. It looks
Yeah, to you.
really fucking good.
Yeah, but I need glasses because I was driving like this. And like I'm with one of my friends and he's just like, yeah, I see pretty clearly. I'm like, man, not really. I mean, I see that stop sign. It's like now clear. And he's like, dude, you need glasses. I'm like, it's kind of hard driving at night.
Okay. I'm gonna hit record and then a few seconds later somebody gonna need to clap. Like,
I'll be Rob.
Yeah.
No, he's sitting in Rob's spot. He should clap. No, I'm kidding. I can do it.
can you be the smart ass lawyer? That would be fun to see if you could be Rob. Do you want to see if you can be Rob?
Yeah, I don't feel like getting my asshole bladed by Rob.
Alright, click. Welcome everybody to a random podcast. Up in Smoke 2.5. Before we get into the 3.0, this weekend we will be shooting random video from the vape shop at Oasis Vapor, Dent, Maryland. Dirtyshore Underground on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Nothing but vapors in the house tonight. Thankfully. Harry, tell us something we don't know. Especially about this right here. This is beautiful.
So, I picked this up today. It is the Low RX200 by Jabo and Wismec. Jabo designed the mod, Wismec is distributing and manufacturing it, all that stuff. This mod came out around November in production. It was first released, like the name of it in production, around October, and then it finally actually got out there on November. The actual Rouleau has a two-tone color scheme where it's a darker gray and a lighter gray on the accents and stuff, but the DNA 200 is what's in the actual Rouleau product, which runs about 160, 170, 180, and it's the first DNA 200 mod to actually have 3 18650 batteries in there, because that was actually one of the requirements of the DNA 200. So you see all these mods that have a DNA 200 chip, but you see that they also have a LiPo battery in it, the VaporShark DNA 200. It has a really, really small capacity LiPo, and then you see like the lava boxes, the tugboat boxes, which are very, very nice, but the thing is they're LiPos. They don't have as much capacity as, well, 2 18650s. They do, in a way, but you're not going to get the battery life out of a LiPo compared to 3 18650s, which is what the Rouleau has done. With this version, however, it's not a clone. They came out with 2 styles for this. One is the all-black version, and then the second one is a what do we call it? Cyan, aquamarine color, and a white two-tone pattern scheme. But the nice thing about this is it's an authentic product from Wismec, Jabo, whoever you want to call it's from. But it's got a Joytech chip in it, from what I've heard. And basically, that's the only real difference, is just what the chipset is in here. You still get the 3 18650 battery capacity, you still get the 200 watts of power out of it, you still get the temp controls, it's just you don't have the DNA 200 chip. And when it all boils down to it basically just doesn't have the feature of a DNA 200 called eScribe. eScribe is I call it a very, very hobbyist, shit, my stuff's leaking. I call it a hobbyist programmer software. Basically, you can pull performance data out of your mod. You can see how many amps, how many volts, how many milliamps you're using, just all that kind of data out of it. But you can also edit the interface of the screen and how your mod works. Like if this was a DNA 200, I probably would set it up to say property of Harrison Miller or Oasis Vapor, Oasis, or just, something like that. I could edit the values. I could show all three of the batteries, charge all at once, the state of charge. I could show it I could set it up so that way I could show how many amps I'm truly pulling instead of just pulling a few numbers on my phone and getting a estimate of how much I'm pulling out. So that's the real big feature of the DNA 200. You can also do a few things with temperature control, such as setting your TCR curves, which is higher up there. It's like a really more refined version of temp control rather than the mod just sensing and getting data what it can out of the RDA at the time. That's basically really about it. And you just don't have the customizable kind of stuff. I talked to Kenny about this before we did this, but basically it's like a comparison to consoles and PCs. Consoles are very, very stock performance driven. You get what you get out of it. You pay what you basically want out of it. And you're stuck with that. This is basically on the console kind of platform. Whereas the DNA 200, it's like a PC. You can upgrade it. You can change it about. It's very versatile. You have a lot of factors that you can choose so that way you can set it up to your liking. So, I mean,
although the thing with the consoles, the good thing is it never changes. So
it never changes. No.
Developers, if they want to go there, they can try to develop better on what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, with the PS4, they originally only had 6 of their cores open for developers. They just opened the 7th core so you can get more power out of it.
Right.
So there's still an 8th core.
Yeah.
But I think the 8th core is still just going to be held for the UI of it, as the 6 and 7 originally was held, but they realized that they didn't need all that power just for the UI.
Right.
Same thing with a lot of mods, probably.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, like, this is just one little thing, but some people will say, oh, you save power by putting mods into stealth mode because you're not lighting up the screen. It's the same kind of way with the brightness on a laptop or tablet, but it's just a very minute power difference. Phones are a really good example. Turning down the brightness on your phone, because most of your phone's power is going towards just, displaying that screen on there, doing all the animations and just getting the brightness and all that stuff. I'd probably say it's like 40% of your battery that's doing it. But with this kind of stuff, it's not as higher up there as, powering an HD screen. It's just a simple digital, I mean, you can literally see the pixels. It's not that much powering it, but it's still a factor to consider. I don't really see it as much. Mechanicals, they relatively kind of do seem to last a little bit longer, but you're not getting the full performance of maybe a, variable power out of it.
Look, Rob, you can come over for bullshit.
His idea.
It's what? It's 11:30 at night, Rob. We're bullshitting. This is 2.5 before we get into 3.0. This isn't really what we talked about yesterday. And you live 2 blocks away if you want to come join us. Damn it. Fucker. Alright, anyway. With this mod here, it's got 3 batteries in it.
Yeah, it does. And it looks pretty crazy just to look at it.
It looks really beefy. I'm not going to drop it. Look, we've had this conversation during the 2.0. It's really beefy looking. What wattage does this go up to?
It goes up to 200 watts.
And that'll be true. 200 true.
200.
It's got 3 batteries.
Yes,
in it, right?
It does.
So
that's another debate that you can go on. Is a DNA 200 chip with a LiPo, not necessarily a LiPo, but with 2, you'll see mods that actually go up to 200 watts, but they're not using a DNA 200 chip. When Evolve came out with that chip, they said, okay, you either need a LiPo or you need 3 18650 batteries wired.
And a lot of them, they pulse, like the Snow Wolf.
I shouldn't say a lot of them do, but a good example is that Snow Wolf. Once you go above 150 watts, I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, so with the Snow Wolf, when you go above 150 watts, it starts to do something called pulse modulation, which pretty much means it's just pulsing. The vapor is pulsing. You basically have time where it's vaping, and you also have time when it's not. So it gets away with a little title saying, yeah, 200 watts, we can do it. When I've always said, no, it's really not. It's just you saying it is. My Sigelli Fuchai, that goes up to 200 watts, does not pulse, but are you really getting the best, performance out of it for stressing 2 batteries to 200 watts? Yeah, there is. There's going to be a little bit of a lag out of it. So you can't really theoretically say, yeah, this is pulling 200 true watts. Whereas this one, it's not a DNA 200 chip, but it was still made by Wismec, so they worked it out, and they said, yeah, you actually can pull true wattage out of it. If you looked at a curve, I seriously don't know what that's saying.
He said, it's Kenny's show, I'm just watching along.
Okay.
But we all know I like to have Rob as my co-host because he has a lot of good input on anything.
Right.
Because he has a huge different perspective to anything the rest of us have, which makes for a good
It does. It creates a dynamic.
What a delay.
Yeah.
I know, it's at least 30 to 45 seconds. And that's what me having set it at the minimal through YouTube, so.
Right. But, okay, so where was that? Yeah, the DNA 200. So if you look at a graph, and you look at what a DNA 200 does on 2 batteries wired, you'll see that this graph halfway through is pretty linear until you see this curve start going down. Whereas with the Wismec relay, you'll see that graph is relatively straight, very horizontal, and you see a really sharp actual linear drop off, but it's at the very end when the batteries are pretty much completely drained. So Jabo, Wismec, whoever you want to call, they really made a really good decision by releasing a mod that doesn't have a DNA 200 chip, but with a 200 watt capacity to it. Because not everyone has $160 or $170 to spend or to invest into a mod. So they went ahead and said, okay, let's put a chip in here because everyone likes the shape of this mod. Not every mod has a 3 battery capacity. The SMY God 180 does, but that thing's a lot huger than that thing. And it's getting to the size of a tablet pretty much. The smallest tablet you can find, but it's still a really nice mod for what it is, and for Jabo to do that really increases their market to who they can sell it to and all that. What else did you want to go over?
Well, before we go any further, I'll just take a quick time out because it's a ad space. Well, not really ad space. Oasis Vapor. Go check them out. I don't know the address. I know you know it.
601D North 6th Street, Denton, Maryland.
Coming up to the shop after vacay for my vape. There you go.
There you go. I'll set you up.
Rob's gonna get there. Rob is about to switch to vaping because it's getting too fucking cold out to smoke. As you see, 3 of us are vaping now. Also, by Rob's books, Robert and Cheek, all over your social medias. Karina just bought Foe a couple days ago, and we will be talking about that next week while we do our regular podcast, because by then Jessica should have her copy and have read it. And Karina read her whole copy in about a day.
We're expecting her book to come in tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
So she'll have it read by next Wednesday or Thursday when we do a podcast with Rob. So we'll have the talk about the Book of Foe. Well, we'll have them talk about it, and we'll sit and listen, because I doubt any of us are going to read about Rob's sex life, to be honest. Sorry, Rob. We don't want to read about your sex life. We'll let the girls talk about it, and then we'll decide if it's 50 Shades of Grey on steroids or not. Even though I think he might have had his written before 50 Shades of Grey came out. I don't know. We'll see. When we go into Up in Smoke 3, we're going to talk more about discovering the difference between legit mods and their clone counterfeits, right?
Right. We'll go into that. Actually, I'll pull up my list that will cover just some highlights, not going into them on this podcast.
And there's probably a lot of them that probably honestly look completely the same, but they have slight differences probably somewhere in between, inside of them.
Basically, I mean, I'll go ahead and just say this one part. The definition of a clone compared to an authentic product. Once I pull this up, where is it at? There we go. Basically, you have an authentic product, which is made by a company, which they engineered by themselves. There's really no kind of way of, you can see like copycats and replicas and all that stuff, but it's through a dedicated distributor. With clones, however, it's a replication of that authentic product. You can have good clones and bad clones depending on how they make it, what materials they use, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll just make up one mod right now. We'll just call it Mod X, pretty much. Mod X is an authentic. It has a peak insulator inside of it. It's a mechanical. It's made out of 99% copper. It's been well machined. There's no burrs on the threads. The threads are sharp enough to cut you, pretty much. And it's got a magnetic switch on it, and it's recessed. Now let's go to Clone A. Clone A is really, really close. The threads are nice and smooth. Maybe it's not the best quality copper or anything like that. The pins and the contacts are a little bit different, but relatively it performs pretty good. It doesn't get hot on you. There's no real bad quality to kind of look at. It may be a little bit dirty from machine oil and the machining and all that stuff, but other than that, once you clean it up and tune it up, it pretty much works just like the authentic, how it should. Then we'll move on to Clone B. Clone B is pretty much the shittiest of clones. There's burrs on the threads. Threads sometimes you squeak on you, or they're hard to twist in and stuff. There's hard edges on the mod that can actually cut you. It's got a Delrin insulator and it's loose. The posts on them are loose. When you screw it on, there's a little bit of a tilt on the 510. So now your Addy and your mod are sitting pretty much tilted. Looks like you dropped it. And what else?
We like Smokey.
What's the other thing? Oh, here's the thing. Arcing. If you don't have the cleanest of contacts, which if you're using Clone B, which is the shittiest, it's probably going to get really, really hot on you. I mean, you'll generate heat from the RDA itself. That's normal because the coils are heating up. But you may get a hot button, which is pretty much the micro arcing that's happening because the buttons aren't sitting all the way on the terminal. It could even lead to the point where it's unsafe to use it. That mod,
to the point to where the people that would blow themselves up.
Not necessarily that. It'd have to get really, really hot. It's working correctly, but is it up to the quality of an authentic or Clone A? Absolutely not. So that's kind of how I can explain clones. It's the same way if you talk to RDAs. Batteries not so much because they're rewraps. That's a little bit harder to explain. But that's generally clones and how they're pretty much marketed and manufactured. So you can buy a good clone and it'll be working for you just right. But if you want to call it an authentic, you really can't. But if you're using Clone B, it can get to the point where basically it is dangerous to use.
Hey! Is that somebody you know?
No.
No? Hey Joshua, what's going on?
But yeah, like I was saying, let's see what else we'll get into. So, one thing we'll get into in On Up and Smoke 3 is something called philosophy of use. It's just, literally, it's something that's been there all the damn time, but no one's really defined it. I mean, people have, but on the general kind of population, your general kind of person will not really know philosophy of use. But once you explain it to them, they'll be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. It's everywhere in life. What else are we going to go into? Battery safety, we'll go over basically.
Yeah, because one I heard recently was there was a recent case in the county. Somebody had their batteries blow up in their pocket.
Right.
Somebody said they were pretty sure it was pen batteries from like a gas station.
Right.
That they probably used the wrong kind of charger on or charged on a higher volume than what it should hold do for it, and they overcharged it, and it just happened to explode in their pocket.
Yeah, and that can happen.
Which it can happen, and the same thing with even these style of batteries if you had the wrong kind of charger for it, right?
Yeah, it can. I mean, like I said, we'll go over it in Up and Smoke 3, but pretty much majority of the time, any kind of catastrophic battery failure is mostly related to a user error. They were doing something wrong, or they were using a bad practice, or they have a habit that pretty much leads to that. That'll be one topic we'll go over in depth. We'll also go over a debate that I've heard. It sounds silly to people who've been vaping a long time, but really, why can't you use the A-rated batteries compared to lithium ion? And you know what I mean by A-rated batteries, AAAs, AA's, D's, that kind of thing. What else we'll go into? The catastrophic battery failures. We'll go over types of failures. And what else? Practicing battery safety, what you should do, good habits that you should do, how to, use your mod respectively and appropriately.
What if, when, say, because I'm gonna talk to Nate by Monday.
Okay.
At some point, because we were talking about trying to, because I want to do a podcast live stream in the actual shop.
Right.
If we have to do it after hours, that's fine. Have Nate there. Rob will be back by Tuesday. If we do it Wednesday or Thursday. Yes, Harry's voice is so soothing. We discussed this the first time you met. Anyway, if we all get in the shop, we're sitting there after hours. You can explain stuff to Rob.
Maybe, yeah.
And
that might be a good time for Rob to purchase his
yes,
paper.
we could do that after hours, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. I'll talk to Nate about that Monday and see if that was something he'd be willing to do.
Right.
Considering 3 out of 4 of us would be wearing.
Mm-hmm. I think that's your pizza.
Get Karina. 3 out of 4 of us would be wearing the Oasis hoodies, and he could help him out with his vape,
right?
Get him what he needs,
mm-hmm.
And it'd be really interesting as far as I'm concerned.
Sounds good.
Fun stuff.
I mean, yeah, a lot of potential right there.
And his he used to like the what was it called? Antifreeze flavor. What's it called now? You told me what it was called now.
I really do not know.
You don't remember off the top of your head?
I mean, that was like right when I first started working at Oasis, and then they made a change. I think it was All Star, maybe.
So we'll have to ask Nate.
Yeah, that'd be something to ask Nate.
Ask Nate.
But let's see, what's some other stuff we'll be going over? We'll be going over e-liquid, basically just philosophy of use. What would you use for this? What would you use for your daily kind of vape? And then builds. One build that I have on the screen right now is something that I built. That was on my Sageli Fuchai and on the Glacier V2 RDA. That is a twisted Clapton build using.
That's the one right there in the middle, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But basically 2-post RDA. You have 28 gauge wrapped around 32 gauge wrapped around 28 gauge, and then you have 2 Claptons that twisted together with a very, very loose twist pitch. Which is what we'll also go over on Up in Smoke 3. And basically how that build performs, what would you use it for, and what kind of quality vape that you get out of it, and going over certain stuff like surface area, and that's basically it, what I have so far. The clones, we'll go into also, well we kind of did, but we can go over
not to the extent that we could.
Yeah.
I will have to say that, for all the things I've heard about the Smoke Tank Mini, I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's got the dual Claptons in it. You did warn me, and I heard you say something to somebody while I was in the shop one day. Don't let it get so hot that it would burn you. Otherwise, you're going to end up breaking the glass in order to break it apart, and then you got to replace it. And then it's hard. After you use your one replacement glass, it's going to be a pain in the ass to find the extra glass.
This is one thing we can talk about, but my experience in the vape shop with people almost blowing themselves up or just stuff breaking.
They overdo it.
Yeah, partly they overdo it, or partly it's honestly the equipment's fault. That's always a factor to consider. But basically what Kenny was talking about was one day I had a guy come in. He usually comes in the vape shop. He gets 2 things, and I always get it right up for him without even asking a question. Basically, he brings in the smoke tank that he didn't buy from the shop directly. But he tells me it gets really, really hot, and I can't get this glass piece off, and I've tried everything, and I really don't want to break it. So I'm taking it all apart, I'm cleaning it up, and I'm trying to get the glass off. It's twisting, but it's still not coming off, and I don't want to, grab it to the point where it's going to break in my hands. So I'm looking at it, and I see I'm just looking at it, and I see that the O-ring's like really, really spotty, like spiderweb-like in a way. And I'm thinking, he said, okay, it gets hot. I asked him, does it get hot to the point where where you can't really touch it? And he says, yeah, like a definite yes. So I'm thinking, okay, this thing got so hot that the O-ring melted, and it's pretty much sticking to the metal and the glass. So I'm like, there's no way that you can get this off. So I gotta break the glass. You gotta replace some glass. He's like, yeah. So I'm just like, yeah, I get to break shit in the freaking shop now. So paper towel, just fucking, just a wrench, bam.
See,
So,
now when I'm doing mine, I'll hold it just above the air holes.
right.
So if it starts to feel a little too hot, I'll stop. Because I don't want to get to the point where I actually feel like it's burning me.
Is it getting like?
But
does it have that potential?
It does. If I'm hitting it nonstop, I'll feel it to start to get hot, but I'll stop before it gets to the point that it would actually burn me while holding it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll feel warm, but I can still unscrew the bottom because I've checked it a couple times just to be sure. Especially because I was there the one day you were talking about it in the shop and everything, and that was my one concern when I bought that tank.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's been a really enjoyable tank. The taste has been great. I haven't tried the sextuplet coil yet, which I got around here somewhere. Right now it's the dual Claptons, and the taste is really smooth and really good and potent.
And you said that's a Clapton coil?
Yeah, it's the dual.
That'll
Clapton.
give it to you.
Yes.
That's the surface area.
It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, but the one thing I actually didn't think about was pretty much we were talking about the clones and stuff, but also just authentic products not being made to a good quality. That smock tank, I've tried the full size version. I've also tried the mini. And I just do not enjoy it in general. I'm a guy who...
Have you tried it with the Clapton?
Yes, I have. And it does give you a good taste, but compared to... I mean, this is just me, and...
Nothing's going to compare to an RDA. We'll be honest.
I wasn't really going to go over an RDA, per se. But, compared to a regular coil that you would use for a tank and a Clapton, it does give you a little bit more flavor. Is it by a lot? I wouldn't say so. But just with the craftsmanship and how well machined it is, it gets hot. For an authentic product, it gets hot.
Well, my Arctic would get hot in the same way.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, I also held it right above the air hole. So the second it felt too hot to me, I would stop.
Right.
So a lot of it comes through the user and knowing what they're dealing with. Again,
that's true also.
I mean, just holding it here, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you're hitting it a couple times, which typically I do. You guys should all kiss.
You all knew that.
No. Why the fuck is it that every time we do a podcast, it turns into some fucked up three? Anyway, typically, when I'm vaping, I at least have one hand sitting across the bottom of the tank, right above the air holes like this, so that I can feel it. Which I feel like any user should do for their own benefit, regardless of the tank. Because if you're sitting there, puffing nonstop, eventually no matter the tank, it's still gonna get hot. I've gotten my Arctic tank pretty hot. Now that one doesn't have the inner ring like this one does for a heat sink, and the outside piece would actually burn my lip while puffing it sometimes. This one doesn't if your lip's not touching the inner one. I feel like
going that direction.
Yeah. Rob, it goes that direction even when you're here, so...
I'm sorry.
I don't know how many times
Rob.
me and you have been in some kind of twisted three-way in the first several... The Walking Dead podcast, I think, when we were on Ustream, we were in some kind of fucked up... Take your...
Alright, anyway, go on.
Our boy Tony's coming over Monday, and he would be more than happy to take his shirt off for you, because he works out. Boom. The guy I was telling you about that wants you to be in his van.
Okay.
So, look forward to that Monday.
Okay.
Hopefully you can make it Monday. I don't have a time yet. And he said he was free Monday night, and we'll see what we can do Monday night. Well, with our podcast, it's always night anyway. It's always at least 7, 8 o'clock at night. So it works around everybody. Monday night we have Tony Steele, a.k.a. Anton Ennels, Iron Army, coming in. We'll have him on the air. We'll talk about random stuff. We'll probably talk about DDP yoga a little bit, which I've been slacking on a little bit because I've been riding my bike more, so it kind of compensates.
But, going back to... Shoot, what were we talking about? But I'll just go back to the tank real quick. I mean, you do have tanks that work really well. Hit the magic or...
You hit magic at her with the drinks.
Still working on it, Rob. Still working on it.
Yeah, but going back to the tanks. craftsmanship, machining, that really is more important with a tank rather than with an RDA. With an RDA, you can really get away with it, but like the tank gets hot on you. I mean,
there's not a lot you can do about it.
There's really not a lot because it's a lot of metal. It's really going to conduct the heat outward. I mean, because it is a piece of metal that's heating up.
I mean, I feel like Smock did a good thing with this here. Like when I first looked at it, I was like, I don't like that.
Right. I mean, yeah.
But then,
it does look weird.
But then when I had my lip on the outside compared to where it was touching all the way across,
right,
I could tell the difference because the second it was all the way across, it burnt the shit out.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, just the other thing, too, it's like philosophy of use. Like, Spence, he sucks on his freaking...
He tries to suck the life out of his shit.
He does. And for someone like him using that tank, he'd probably get it to the hot to the point where it would melt. And, you know, it's not the tank's fault, but it's also just the user's fault. User error not only applies to, you know, just batteries failing and all that kind of stuff, but also hurting your hardware. It's just a factor you also got to consider. Like, if you're someone that's going to be using it a lot, I mean, I would honestly tell Spence, like, look, get an REA, get something with a lot of vapor in it so that way you're not trying to chase. Because that's a really wasteful way.
And Spence has a Mutation X, so...
And if you hit the tank too hard anyways, you'll burn the Addy up real quick.
That too. I mean...
Karina.
Yeah.
3 fucking coils in a week.
I mean, I particularly don't like the tank anyways. I've been doing it
I generally don't. I use it.
Months.
I mean, I use mine whenever I'm driving or whenever I'm really handy.
I'm always on the move, so...
Right.
I get to use my RDA when I'm at the shop hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see me recording video well, you might not see it live, but I'll be at the shop Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at some point doing random behind-the-scene videos and whatnot to add to the podcast, either to drop them in or to add them as their own videos this weekend. And I'll be using my RDA because there's probably about 1 million juices there that, well, not 1 million, but there's
a good amount.
A good amount that I can...
thousands, I'll tell you that.
There is a high amount that I can use to drip in and try the flavors of to see if I like it, just in the shop.
Yeah. I don't know what we were talking about, just...
Yes, this is about vaping, kind of.
Kind of.
It was 2.5...
It's your podcast and you don't even know what it's about?
It's vaping 2.5 plus the random stuff, because, you know... Rob come in, he's trying to mess with us. I'm trying to get to the magic hour still.
But, yeah. So, Vape Shop Horror Stories. There was that one tank. It wasn't really so much a horror story. But, here's one that's not really a horror story, but it just kind of shows how people can be so gullible into it. But I had a mod in there. It was called the King, and it was 26650 mechanical. Really thick. I mean, it was probably about as thick as that juice bottle right there. There we go. And I had these guys come in, and the one thing they just said was, we want to blow clouds. To a lot of people that vape and a lot of people who work in a vape shop, it can be a really good thing or a really bad thing. Because you just got people that come in, they'll just be like, you know, we want clouds. We want to vape out an entire room. And to me, whenever I see someone that's kind of like young and, you know, doesn't really want to just jump into it, doesn't want to really do all the work and stuff, I give a really negative connotation. You can call it stereotyping, but... Because
somewhere in that crowd is that idiot that's going to blow
Exactly,
up, right?
Exactly. They just want to get into it. They just want what they want out of it. Instant gratification. But pretty much, I had this King mod. I was just like, okay, so this is your basic setup. We actually had 30mm RDAs at the time, so it did actually look nice. It wasn't as small as the 22, actually this one's a 23mm, but so got them all set up, and I'm doing all my
I have a feeling that's Jessica and Karina downstairs, because I bet if I cut the Wi-Fi off right now, they'd be really fucking pissed.
Maybe not, or it's just some random guy.
No, it's just... I guarantee you it's them downstairs bullshit.
Maybe not. But, yeah, so I'm pulling my numbers and stuff, and I'm like, okay, so 22 gauge parallels. And I'm thinking, whoa, that is way too many reps. So we're going to do 22 gauge, just regular dual coils. And all of a sudden I look at the number, I'm just like, wait, that's too many. But then I think, wait a minute, I'm on 30mm dripper. 17 reps sounds about right. So this wide ass coil that's about 1 inch big, freaking, oh man, it was so goddamn ridiculous. And he was just like, that's a lot of wraps for a guy that's never really vaped and stuff. And I was making a sale out of it, but I was also itch kidding at the same time, so not really my problem. But get it all set up. It had the longest ramp up time ever. It probably took about 30 minutes to get it, or not 30 minutes, 30 seconds to get it up to its full potential.
Don't even repeat it.
But yeah, so I get it ramped up, I'm blowing on it, and all of a sudden it finally gets to the point where, okay, I can probably get a good decent cloud of it, blow it out, and the kid's face just like lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree. He was just like, that's the best fucking thing ever. It's like, yeah, okay, here's what you also need. You also need a charger, you might need a few juices, because sometimes you get sick of them. Here's 2 sets of batteries. I was really getting really big money out of them. They probably left the shop spending $300 when they probably could have left with just $180. But yeah, just seeing that, it's like, yeah, I did kind of manipulate them in a way. But do I feel bad? Not really. I made the sale. I made money. But yeah.
At the end of the day, it's what's about. You know, we got to make money, or at least hit quota so we can get some free juice.
Well, I mean, they told me, hey, I want that going. I'm like, okay, you got it.
But that Hell's Gate's been sitting there for a fucking year. Oh my god,
that thing. Every time people will say, what the hell is that thing, or that thing looks fucking sick, I tell them, look, that thing is novelty. If you want to buy it, it's definitely a good vape, but are you carrying it around all day? I think not. But here's another story. I had a guy with a Nemesis clone, which actually performed pretty well, but he wanted a sub-tank. And I just thought, okay, he's got some other mod at home, or, you know, his mod has center pin. So basically I said, okay, so here's what we got. He shows what he wanted, and he's like, okay, and made the purchase.
Go ahead. I'm gonna wait till I get this message.
How does this feel? You're getting sexually harassed through the internet.
Don't it make you feel popular? It makes you want to pull out Clerks 2, right? Where you do the Jay, you fuck me? I fuck me. Fuck me.
I'd rather just pull out the J and Silent Bob's track again.
Bong? We're just pulling out the bong now?
Well, this is up in
I mean, we can get bongs.
Well, this is up in
But they're tobacco products, right?
Right.
Right.
They are.
They're tobacco products.
Yeah. But, yeah, so this guy has a sub-tank, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, he's just getting used on his nanny. Probably has a center pin, so that's safe for a sub-tank. So, buys it, I go off to work with another customer, and I see out of the corner of my eye, he's pulling it out of the package. I'm like, okay, maybe he just wants to see it. And all of a sudden, I see him putting it on his mod, and I'm like, okay, he just wants to try it out. He's got juice in it and all that stuff, should be fine. All of a sudden, I see that the guy says, whoa, and then he had it pretty much horizontal, he lifts it up, and I'm seeing sparks fly out of the airflow, and I'm just like, oh my god, give me that. So this thing was so fucking hot. It basically was shorting the battery to a dead short, and I'm taking it apart, it's hot as shit, and the battery is just like, oh my god, it's like to the point where I'm thinking, okay, I got a bomb a foot away from my face. So I set it outside, and I'm just like, let me see your mod. I look at it, and it has a hybrid connection, which pretty much means normally in a mechanical...
Nobody cares about jugglers.
Maybe.
No, it's not.
Okay. But, yeah, so basically a mechanical has a center pin that bridges the battery's top terminal to the atomizer or whatever you're using. If you have a hybrid connection, you don't have that center pin. It's a straight dead connection onto the battery. So the whole point of it is you have no voltage drop, pretty much. If you have a sub-tank, however, the threads on the outside and that positive pin is pretty much your line from being negative and positive. So if you have a recessed pin, you're pretty much touching the negative end on your top side of your battery, and that creates a dead short. So I set the battery out, and I'm just like, look, you idiot, you used a hybrid connection on a fucking sub-tank. And he's just like, I don't know what that means. It's like, yeah, no shit. So I set it out, and I'm just like, fuck you, dude. And Nate comes in, he's like, why is that battery out on the door? I'm like, it might explode, just don't be near it. And he starts laughing. He's just like, okay. But yeah, shit can get that serious in a shop.
Well, I mean, on the last Saturday I came up to the shop, and you were trying to teach me how to build coils.
Uh-huh.
For anybody that thinks it's fucking easy, it's really not. Starting out for me, it's a pain in the ass. I feel like I did somewhat decent on my second or third coil. But it's definitely a craft trade, and it's something you gotta work on. You can't just jump in there and feel like you can wrap something 6, 7, 8 times and be alright with it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If I gave you all the stuff here to do right now, do you think you would do a little bit better than what you did before?
I probably would, because I had your help with learning the entire process.
And that's really the thing. Like, coil building at first, just doing it the first time is the hardest thing ever. I mean, it's like getting on a motorcycle the first time. It's hard as shit, but once you actually have that experience, it's like, okay, I know what to do and what not to do. And that's really about it. It's just practice. It's like picking up an instrument.
A lot of shit with coil building, I did not know before you were telling me about it last weekend, especially with pulsing it and then
crimping it. I mean, yeah, it's definitely an art. There's definitely a lot of factors considered to it compared to a tank where all you have to worry about is juice, a coil, and batteries.
Like, I used to sit there and this is even with the pre-built ones that I got from Nate, because I had the one of the original. It was like 8 of the Clapton coils, the pre-built ones, and then I would put on my thing in my RDA, and I would wonder why one would light up quicker than the other.
Right.
I never knew that crimping it would help make them both light up at the same exact time if you sat there and played with it. So.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to it. It's a lot of stuff to learn at first, but it's really just practice. And the taste that you get out of it is just so much more better than compared to a tank. People will say, oh, a tank is getting really, really close to a dripper. That's SMOC tank. I mean, 0.2 resistance, that's pretty much a dripper. And I say, no, it's not, because you have the metal that you have to go through, and you have the airflow that's restricting it. You're never going to get the REA experience. I mean, this is a really, really ironic kind of metaphor, but basically, it's kind of like cigarettes and cigars. Cigars, you sit down when you're not really in a big rush or anything like that. You take the time to enjoy them. RDAs, in a way, are like that. Whereas tanks, they're convenient, they're fast, you don't have a lot of factors to worry about. That's pretty much your cigarette.
It's what you have when you're on the move. But if you're just, like, typically, I would probably have my RDA out, but honestly, at the moment, it's probably in my book bag, but at the moment, it's currently somewhere here. I'll find it before I hit the shop tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. So come to Oasis Vapor over the weekend, get with Harry, buy a vape, buy some juice.
Pretty much. I mean,
me personally, I still just can't use a tank. I have my Atlanta sitting downstairs that I have now for a year still. Still haven't used it. I use my tank my RDA when I'm on the go.
And you got some people like that. I'm the same way.
I have a bottle with a needle tip that I can just take off, put on the coils and cotton, and keep on going.
Yeah. I mean,
just me, because I enjoy my RDA so much. The tank, I don't get much.
When I'm out and I'm doing my job searching, that's kind of a pain in the ass for me.
Yeah, it can be the same.
Right now, this would be the time for me to use it, which sometimes I do. Never mind, I just found it.
But so, like, what's your, because we've kind of been leaving you out, but basically, what's your experience been with vaping? Like, what's some stuff that you like about it? How did you kind of start off with it? You know, take us through like a timeline.
I pretty much started about a year and a half ago. I pretty much just started up with the starter kit. Just the regular pen. Just the pen with the Stardust tank, disposable Stardust you put on top. Runs the wick inside, and after about a week or 2 weeks, that tank's no good. You have to get another one. Then I switched over to my Nemesis mech mod, all copper mech mod. Used that while on the tank for a while, but I got my first RDA, which was a Patriot.
Oh,
I had
that's
my
going
first
old school.
Patriot RDA. I could not use it on the mech mod because I had someone build the coil for me and it just would not run hot enough. All it did was spit, got no cloud, no flavor. And so pretty much now I've been using my IPv3 that I've been using for a year. bought it on a deal, got it for $20 when they were still brand new.
Wow, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say too much brand new, but I would say new enough. The IPv4 was just coming out, hitting the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Guy wanted to come in and get an IPv4, and I looked at him. I said, "Are you gonna get rid of that IPv3?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll give you $20 for it." Just joking around.
Right.
He said, "All right." I gave him 20. He handed me the box mod. Been using it ever since.
I mean, that's a really good box. I mean, that looks like the first version to me because of screws. But
I've dropped this son of a bitch so
yeah,
many
they're
times
tough,
and it still works.
yeah, the IPv3s, they're really known for being tough. The
I've
IPv4s,
dropped my.
yeah.
I mean, you see the fucking war marks on this from me.
Right.
Somehow I've never managed to break a tank.
Not
gonna fake
wood.
Luckily enough, because I don't have the vape bands on this one, but with my Arctic tank, I've never broke it, and I've dropped it several times outside on the fucking concrete. Somehow not broke it, thankfully.
But when I got my IPv3, I put the Patriot on top, was loving it.
Yeah.
And then I went to my first bait comp, my first cloud competition.
Mm-hmm.
Was thinking about going, decided to go. But with the Patriot, you know how the air holes are so small on each side.
Mm-hmm.
I took a drill and drilled bigger holes and won my first bait competition, even though I got such a burn hit like a motherfucker. It hurt so bad. Still won. That's how I won the troll here.
Oh, okay.
And then I went on Amazon and bought me a Doge X2 competition RDA. And I won 3rd place and ended up getting 6 bottles of Chug Vapor, down to my last one now.
Well, Oasis don't have Chug, do they?
No, they don't.
No.
But they do have many other flavors that you will enjoy. So
the first one I got from Oasis was the Mountain Dew Blue Voltage. And I went through that in about 5 days because I loved it so much.
Not a flavor for everybody. I went through my Ruthless Orange flavor in about a day and a half to 2 days, sadly to say. I mean, I know the tank plays a big part on it because it's obviously a bigger coil than what I had before, so it's going to suck more juice out of it. But I got a better flavor out of it than what I got with the other tank I had. It was more closer to the RDA flavor, especially with the dual clampings inside of it.
Because my IPv3 right now with the update goes to 175 watts. But I just run it at 100 watts at a point, and it runs at a steady 0.43 ohms. It does not change at all. Me, I've just been frustrated with building coils that I pretty much just, when I do a cotton change, I just clean my coils and then I put fresh cotton in.
You've been running the same coil for what,
a long
like
time
year?
now. Yeah.
I mean, if you take care of them, they will last you a long time. Like, one thing I tell people when they start off with a tank or they're buying a new one, I'll tell them, look, your coils are probably going to last, on average, it's a very, very broad average, 2 weeks. And some people may say, okay, that takes a while, and some people might say, oh, that pretty much is going to be like buying cigarettes. And I tell them, well, the other thing is, you got to take care of them. If you do take care of them, they can last you a month. They really can.
But, I mean, it's still less expensive than a cigarette because you're looking at maybe 7 packs a day.
So wait to get back into the flavored liquids. I hope Harry has some ready for me to try.
Maybe.
There is quite a bit for you to try.
Yeah.
But yeah, $7 a day versus, maybe $20 a week for the average starter for a 30 milliliter. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that's $20 if you're buying a premium juice.
Yeah.
The house juices are 15 for 30.
15 for 30, 10 mil for 5.
So that's a huge difference because obviously if you're buying a mod, you're not going to buy a 10 ml. Because I don't see a 10 ml lasting anybody a week.
You never know. I mean, some people might use a high nicotine. They use it occasionally. That may last them. It's kind of like we got CBD oil at the shop now. Well, we had it before. We would mix it in-house, but we actually now have a premium line of CBD oil. And the way that the strengths work... What? Don't let me hanging. I can't see.
All right. For the people that are at home, assuming this actually makes it to the actual podcast, Karina said they don't have man whore flavor, Rob. And then Rob responds, that's the flavor you dream about, Karina. ... Literally. Which Karina responded, go to hell. Again, like Rob tells you guys every week, if you are hearing just the audio podcast, you need to follow us on Dirtyshore UG on Facebook and Twitter. And join us for when we do these random podcast live streams like we're doing right now, because it was all completely random that we decided to do this night. Mm-hmm. And we've been very entertained, and you're missing out on quite a bit of fun in the live comment section, which is up to 41 comments at this point. And we love that. It's like an everyday thing. It seems like with each podcast live stream we do, we're getting more and more action in the comments.
Seems like it. From when I started,
we had some decent action. Like you joined us for the mid-season finale, which the Walking Dead, which was like your first real intro to Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. And we had some comment action there, and we were also periscoping. Well, Rob was periscoping, and we were joining in between the podcast, between the commercial breaks and everything, and we were all getting into it. And although you got to come into that whole episode without feeling
any sort of bias
towards anybody, so while me and Rob were sitting on the edge of our seats about something, you were just sitting back, just like,
okay, that guy just got eaten.
Yeah, I mean, we were pissed off about something because we thought something bad was about to happen. You just got to chill, which would have been more.
Thinking in his head, like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, but yeah.
I just want my pizza.
But yeah. So, what about your story?
Which one?
Just vaping.
I have a lot of stories.
I bet you do.
I really do.
I got a lot too.
Fucking being 29 years old. Okay, as far as vaping goes. Started about a year and a half ago. Thanks to Rob and his antifreeze menthol mix. Went up to Shore Vapor, which is the sister company to Oasis Vapor. Bought a vape pen that had a pass-through on it so I could puff on it while it was charging. From there, I mean, it was on again and off again with it. I mean, for a while I didn't smoke, and then, at one point I ended up smoking a little bit, but I wasn't smoking like I was. And more recent times, I got to the point that I was ended up smoking almost 2 packs a day, so I decided to get back into vaping heavily, which dropped me down to maybe half a pack a day. More recently, in the last week and a half, I haven't smoked shit. Apparently, I took a couple drags off a cigarette tonight, but I don't count that because I won't remember it tomorrow. Thank you, alcohol. Drop the mic.
Yeah. Have you ever done any cloud comps, or have you gone to any?
No, I haven't.
No.
I've gotten feedback from cloud comps while hanging out at Oasis, so in turn, tried to see what I could do, and with my tank, I was able to do like 3 feet or so, and I think with my RDA I was doing 5 or 6 feet.
Right.
But because I was still smoking a lot at that point, that probably played a big factor on it. Mm-hmm. So as the next couple weeks progress, with my lungs getting healthier from not really smoking, we'll see where it gets it. Oh, hold on. Yes, Rob.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, are my speakerphone?
Yes, you are.
I couldn't let one episode go by without the lovely people out there listening to Dirtyshore Underground hearing my voice. So I want to thank everybody for coming in and covering in my absence. Obviously, I had other things I had to do. I'm heading out to Miami tomorrow, so I had to get packed up and everything tonight. Obviously, you two who are sitting in the room, you've seen that Kenny has hit magic hour for sure on the drinks tonight.
I'm not sure about that, Rob.
Okay.
I do want, Rob, I want to tell you this. While you're in Florida this weekend, I'm going to be really upset if you repeatedly tell us how nice it is down there.
Oh, I can just tell you that. I've been in Florida.
Tell everybody.
I think if you keep...
It's gonna be 80 days when I get off the plane. I'm very excited about that.
If you repeatedly post about how nice it is down there, I think you're gonna come back to and upset the SUG cast members.
Well, that's a little too bad. But I do want to say I think you guys have done a fantastic job. Keep it up. You're doing it in my absence. Make sure everybody checks out DirtyShoreUnderground.com. New episode just posted today, Thursday. So go check that out. And I want to say a special thank you to everybody who went out and bought my book this past week. We had a special sale on Cyber Monday. I know Karina got it, Jess got it, and a big thank you to everybody else who went out and got it. So I just wanted to stop and be able to say thank you to everybody who comes out and supports us in so many ways. Going to Oasis, buying the books, going to the website, clicking through Amazon, everything. Thank you to everybody.
I got one question for you before you go.
Sure, go ahead.
How do you feel about somebody else sitting in your standard seat?
I'm not Sheldon. I'm not Sheldon over here. It's not my seat.
That's typically, when we podcast, that's still typically your seat. You make everybody move down because that's your seat.
Someone can sit in it temporarily. All that this show has shown me is that no one will permanently be able to take my spot.
No, I'm just keeping it warm for you.
Those ghost buns.
There you go.
Exactly right. Alright, you guys, finish your show.
Have
a great time. I'll head to bed. I'll see you when I get back from Florida.
And you come back Tuesday, right?
I'll be back Tuesday.
Alright, so Wednesday or Thursday, we'll look forward to something, hopefully, in the vape shop all together.
Yep, but should be posted. Fortunately, it's 2015, so we're never too far away.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. You have a good night. Have fun in Florida, man.
Alright, take care.
Alright, man, see ya.
See ya. Okay, so...
Interesting call in for one of our friends and colleagues. Again, wait, hold on. Let me see what Tony just said. Alright, cool. We might have another podcast going Monday night, most definitely with Tony, who would like to have you join as a second guitarist.
Okay.
Apparently he might have a collab going with a company called Chaotic Clothing. Interesting.
Alright then.
So we'll see how that goes. We'll get him here Monday night. We'll have a conversation about it, and maybe we'll be sporting some new clothing.
Maybe.
For free. I like free.
Better keep up with the
I
Oasis.
like free.
Better still rep Oasis.
Of course, I like free.
But, yeah.
And I like hats, because apparently I'm not allowed to cut my hair. Karina.
Okay. What else?
We haven't really talked about juice as much. Like,
well, that we're going to talk about Up in Smoke 3.
Yep.
So that stuff we'll go over. But, trying to think, what have we not gone over with that we could go over?
just adding on to what Kenny said, how he has not smoked in about a week now, pretty much. Ever since I started back into vaping, I have not touched a cigarette in over a month.
That's good. Actually, tell us about your 3 milligram dilemma right now.
This is kind of, well, it's not so much burning right now because I've been drinking, but for the last day and a half it's burned.
Right.
And, you know, like, that was a nice clap. Like I was saying something to Brandon yesterday. He was like, that's odd.
You were even telling me, and I said that was odd.
But for me, anytime I've went to quit smoking, like the first time I started vaping, I went from, because it was the pen style, I started at 18. So in a week, I was able to go from 18, dropped it to 12 to 6, 3, and 0, all in a week's time. I was switch every 2 days, or every day and a half. I was switching the nicotine factor on it, and was able to cut it out completely. But then, you know, like some shit happened, and
just kind of creeped back up.
Yeah, it creeped back up, and I went back to cigarettes. I mean, you know, sometimes shit happens.
But basically, you're getting to the point where 3 milligrams is starting to feel like that's too much.
Yep. Especially with this, and you know, that's kind of saying something for me.
Yeah, and it's not like a coil issue or anything like that. No hardware issue or anything like that. No contaminating juice, because all your 3s are pretty much doing that for you. I mean, that sounds like to me that, you know, you're ready to go down to either 0 or even a lower nic. My friend, he goes around 1.5 to 3. Sometimes he does 2. He makes his own juice, so he can do that. But generally, I would say, yeah, maybe that's just a sign. But I've never seen anyone honestly go from 18 to 3 in 4 days, a week's time.
I've been weird. I mean, it's also in the same sense, and I'll still stand by this. The pen styles. Every time I do those, if I puff one of those, and in 15 minutes try to smoke a cigarette, that's when the cigarette taste will actually make me throw up. Opposed to this, where I can smoke anything above the 6 is definitely gonna make me feel sick. And the cigarette, I'll feel fine switching back and forth, as opposed to the pen style. I don't know if it's something with the resistance or what.
I mean, high ohms and low ohms, they can give you a different kind of taste. I mean, back when I was using the Kaner email pen, I definitely got a good vape out of that one. But there really is a really noticeable difference. I remember I made a post on Instagram. We had this little Hannah 50 watt clone, because DNA doesn't make 450 watt chips. I put an Nautilus on there, filled it up with some juice, and it tasted just like, you know, the good old times when I was using my pen. It was pretty, reminiscent to those good days, and I still even pick it up. But there definitely is a difference when you taste it with a really high ohm and a really low ohm resistance. Is it better? I really wouldn't say so. It's just a different way of kind of looking at it. And that's really about it.
And I think that's another reason I tried this tank. Because Brandon had the actual mod that went with it, the one that was felt kind of gimmicky, where you could use the Bluetooth with your phone and change
yeah.
You know, the
cube.
Yep, the cube. I took a hit out of his. He had the triple coil in it. I took one hit out of that, and I was smoking a cigarette on my way over to his vehicle. I took a hit out of his, and then I tried to take a puff off my cigarette, and it instantly made me fucking gag for some reason. Now, I like the fact that it made me do that. So, when the opportunity arose for another tank, I went with this one because obviously, you know, now they got the dual Clapton, they got the sextuplet coil, they got the titanium, they got the nickel. So, I mean, there's like 8 different possibilities there for me to try.
Right.
If the triple coil made me hate a fucking cigarette, maybe the other coils will. I haven't tried the sextuplet yet. I'm still on the dual Clapton, which I love the flavor that it puts out. So, as far as that goes, this has been your Up in Smoke 2.5 before we get to 3.0. Next week, hopefully in the vape shop. Hopefully Wednesday. I'm going to talk to Nate Monday.
Spence has been talking about one cone.
Yeah,
he can't do Wednesdays.
He can't do. What's he doing on Wednesdays?
I have no idea, but he says that he can't.
All right, I'll get with Spence tomorrow, and we'll see what's going on, and I'll talk to Nate Monday and see what he'll agree with being in the shop. Because I wouldn't mind him being there too. You know, I mean, he is.
I mean, he has been involved.
Yeah, he's been involved. He's you know, Oasis. He's helped us all out. So it's good for him to be there, but. I mean, if Spence can be there, great. But if he can't, you know, the show still has to go on.
Right.
So, I mean, there's always going to be, as we've seen, we're on 2.5, and there's still a whole lot that we could get into with vaping. It could literally go on forever because, like computers, it's an ever-evolving thing that changes month to month. We can always add to it.
They really need to do, instead of putting all the sportscasting on TV, they really need to just have a vape channel.
Have like a vape contest on fucking ESPN one day?
No, not even just a vape contest on ESPN. They need to have their own vape channel. 24/7 vape talk.
That
new product line dropping.
DSUG, oh the anthem. Although we ain't gonna talk about 24 hours a day because we got a lot of things we talk. But we will talk about it during every podcast at some point. We have an hour usually, and we're already over. No, we're actually at an hour at this point. So, can they find you online where? If you want to be found. Do you want to be found? You don't know. Where's your Instagram?
Basically, well, it's on Instagram.
I said, where's your Instagram?
Yeah, HDM5287. Well, you asked me where it was.
Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter. I don't
You don't
mess
have
with
Twitter?
That shit. No.
You don't
I
tweet?
Don't. No, I don't.
You don't want to tweet like a bird?
No, I do not. I mess with basically Facebook for my actual connections with people. That's just my personal day-to-day friends, family kind of thing. I'm not really going to talk about vaping on that, but my Instagram is dedicated to vaping. You'll see cool
You got
builds.
some slow-mo videos on there now.
Yeah, I do. I've been messing around with
Yeah.
that now, and I think I'm going to bring out my DSLR camera, mess with a little bit of stuff with that. Maybe at the shop when you come in
Fun
one
shit
day.
you'll find this weekend.
Yeah, so all my stuff for vaping is dedicated on Instagram. Again, HDM5287.
And you can find me, Dirtyshore UG, on Facebook and Twitter. Dirtyshore UG hyphen OTA on, or shit. Hold on. YouTube.com/C/Dirtyshore UG hyphen OTA on YouTube. I'm used to Rob doing this shit, man.
Right.
The fucking links. Anyway, you get the gist of it. You can find us anywhere on there. You can go to odanthem.com. You can find all the links through there. Find all the old podcasts. You can find the OD Anthem podcast. Check out Rob's books. Apparently, they are really fucking good. Next week, we're going to talk about Foe at some point because Karina's read it. Jessica's about to read it, which are friends of the show. We also got the Cause book coming out next year. We've heard a version of the Cause, but this goes more into detail from what Rob tells us in the book. So I'm looking forward to checking out the book of the Cause. I'm hoping everybody else is.
It sounded like a really good story when he told it. I mean, it sounded
And
exactly
you've heard
the
it
same.
twice.
Yeah, I have. And it's pretty
You heard a short version and a longer version.
Yeah.
And the black X still hangs in the fucking window. So God forbid one night we're sitting here and the phone actually rings and it's not us fucking with it. But this has been your podcast for tonight that's been completely random. I hope everybody enjoyed it. While we miss having Rob here, I think we had fun without him being here. Because he wasn't here to talk too much. But he still called in, which is great. We love it. Hopefully it was picked up on, the live stream and here, which I'm sure it was picked up here because it was right here, so. Where is it at? There it is. Any last thoughts?
I'm working a 60-hour work week, so if you want to stop
Hell
into the
yeah.
shop, I'm going to be
Money!
there. So yeah, if you want to start pretty much vaping, get off cigarettes, or if you're just looking for, some sort of hobby to get into, I personally wouldn't recommend it, but if you're going to, it's not my, I'm not playing God, it's not my authority to tell you not to, but if you want to, I'll be in there. If you got any questions, you can call the shop too when I'm working or when Nate's working. Again, HDM5287, you can message me on there for questions, or if you just want to look at pre-builds or anything that I do. I do like really small reviews on products, just straight to the point. There's no videos. It's not like a 10-minute long read or anything like that. Short, simple. Is it something I like? Is it something that I don't? That's pretty much what my Instagram is. It's just a really fast way to communicate with people and to pretty much just show off what my daily life with vaping is. But yeah.
And that's probably it for tonight. Robert Cheek on all your social medias for him because he's already gone. So, have a good night, everybody.
My ass is going home. I got work in the morning.
Me too.
You work Saturday? At the
Friday,
vape shop?
Saturday, Sunday.
I'll be there